Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Midwest Bros. This is episode two, the second one. Last week we kind of talked about, finding friendship, community when you're in late 20s and kind of the transition to college. We're kind of back. This is going to be on a weekly basis, just kind of chatting our thoughts, giving any insight to the world. I had, I'll save it at one time. I'll say it again, but I'm going to probably save it as like a beat in the future, like one of those audio things. But I'll say why we started this. We live in a day and age that we are glued to our devices more than anything in the world around us. Amidst our technological revolution, we kind of talked about it before starting here about artificial intelligence. Information, medicine, and knowledge has never been more in our grasp than ever. Yet, for some of us, we feel more lonely, less wealthy, less healthy than those who came before us. And compound this with kind of the transition in life when you're outside of college or entering your young 20s, the world can be at our fingertips, yet be so overwhelming at the same time. So we're making this podcast for anyone that may be feeling the same way, lost, broken, figuring things out, or succeeding in all cylinders. We hope that sharing our story and reflections as a chance to pause, relax, laugh, or even learn a thing or two in these conversations. And with that, let's kind of get started. I mean, we can just catch up. Like, what's been your what have you been up to this week? Anything fun? Anything new?
Um, it's been a good week. It's been a good week. It's been busy. This is I'm covering for a lot of folks over the next 2 weeks,
Mm.
so I'm gonna have just a lot of projects that I'm gonna be both managing and also keeping track of. And then I have new folks I'm gonna be managing as well, which is gonna be kind of exciting. So a lot of things in flight, but overall very good. How about you, man?
Dude, but I just want to I just like want to take a pause to imagine that. Like I can't like it makes sense now. I mean, you've like it's been 3 years because I'm still in school, so I'm like I don't. It doesn't like dawn upon me like 3 years have passed. It's just like, oh, 3 years have passed. But I'm like, think about how we were in college. Like I would never. I mean, I knew you were probably born for some leadership things, and obviously you had some transition in college that changed your career. But never would I thought it was like, yeah, I'm like taking over for some people, just manage some teams, managing some new people in. I was like, that just blows my mind. That always just blows my mind. I'm like, oh, this
It does
this
sound
guy.
frighteningly corporate when I say it like that too. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna circle back to some ideas later and make sure that we're all in alignment, which is
Yeah,
not the way. Yeah, corporate buzzwords are terrible. Actually, everybody
dude,
everybody agrees.
I love it though. Like as an outsider looking in, I'm gonna take that like EOD end of day or like put it like the thing I from one of our friends that worked there. We were talking about like sometimes you guys were trying to get lunch, and when you guys are trying to get lunch, you would say put it on my calendar or put that on my like put time like save time on my calendar. I'm like I love that. I love as a very planning person. I'm like, ooh, that's really cool. Whereas like if you just look at my calendar these days, it's just like week, and then it says hospital from 6 to 5. That's it. That is my plan. There's no inter. There's sometimes like meetings and stuff. That's because I've gotten to a new place where I've had new projects and I need just to touch base with people. But other than that, I don't have that fun. I see it as really fun. Maybe you guys, this is like my everyday. But I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I plan meetings and stuff and put it on my calendar and send it to me end of EOW EOD. I'm like, ooh, what fun
Yeah,
jargon.
yeah. Out of curiosity, what do you use? Do you use like an Outlook or a Google Calendar just to keep track of your schedule, or like how do you do that?
I have always been a Google Calendar person ever since college. I know in Vanderbilt, because I worked in IT for them, I had to have like a more secure. Now everyone's Outlook over there, but I had to have a more secure email, so I was using Outlook, which is fine. I don't need to get into the weeds, but just like both of them, I just prefer Gmail because that's what I'm very used to. Outlook is like very particular, but for calendar, I've always used Google Calendar. I use this app called TickTick for like my things to do. I'm trying to like coalesce them all into one. I like simplify it all into one, but there's just tools that do better things. I haven't found the one thing yet. Like, there's a combination of Notion, TickTick, Google Calendar, but nothing to nothing that wins it all. I mean that captures all my planning in one.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, hang on, I cut you off, man. How was your week?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm studying for this board. It's called Step Two. I have my exam in a couple weeks, so pretty much you get a little dedicated time for that, which is nice because it's good and bad. You need to be really structured, and I'm waking up at a certain time. I'm studying during these blocks, and the closer you get, the more inspiration you get per se of that you need to do the things that you need to do. So I that's been mostly my week, and then I've been going back to the gym a little bit, so just kind of hitting the iron a little bit.
Nice, nice. Love it. Okay, okay. Well, good news, man. What are you covering at the gym? Because I have a very like hard line routine, but I know sometimes folks are like, I want to just try different things, see what works.
Yeah, I'm wondering, did we ever work out together in college? I'm trying to
I think
remember.
we only worked out once, and it was because you were destroying me on calf raises, and I was like, how does Kenny do this? For people who have no context, well, what were you doing at the time? It was like 400 pounds on calf raises.
I think it was like 400 or something. It was so bad to the point because I was a sitting calf raise machine, and so you have
Crazy.
like this elongated rod where you could put on the like plates, and I was to the point where there was no more room for plates.
That's absolutely nuts. Yeah, I have no idea how you managed to do that. At that point, dude, just go to a powerlifting gym. Like genuinely.
Oh,
How's
that was Vanderbilt though. Like if you went to that squat rack place, like sometimes it would be powerlifting. You'd have like noobs like me sometimes just like squatting 2 or 3 plates, and then you see the dude next to you, he's like 4 or 5 plates, swigging down a pre-workout. And you're like, oh shoot,
yeah.
there's always someone
Three
bigger.
might
That's I think that's the thing. Yeah.
three monster energies later, and that dude is still like squatting the same insane amount. And then you're like, I have other things I have to do. Why are you still here?
Dude,
Yeah.
that's my question. Like, how do these people get so jacked naturally? I mean, they're just huge. You know what I mean? And they're just like lifting so much. Like that's my question. I'm always so impressed. I'm like, wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
I have a little bit of insight into it, but I don't really know the science behind it. But they do have to eat just a ton of food. Like it is a caloric surplus from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed. And if they can swing it, if they ever wake up in the middle of the night, have a midnight snack to stay in that caloric surplus.
Oh my
It's
god.
it's just it's just a different world. Like they really are like trying to add more muscle and more fat technically because like you just need everything as fast as you can get it. So maybe not as fast as you can get it. That might be a bit inaccurate, but quickly. So also apologies to everybody. I'm eating oatmeal right now entirely because I messed up my breakfast schedule today. So how it goes.
That's
But
okay. Dude, that actually leads me to my. I mean, I should answer your question first. What I do at the gym, I like kind of switch on and off. In college, I had a really good program. I'm a big fan of Jeff Nippard. I could tag him in the show notes if anyone wants to know. But he's like a really big like science based lifting person, and I had his like. I was more of a beginner in college per se, when it came to lifting. So it's kind of the like full body slash upper lower workouts because you usually do them at a like interval of 8 to 12 weeks at a time, and you kind of switch and do other things. So that's the one I used in college. Now I'm on a cut. I'm officially on a cut. So I switched the program to something it calls a min max program. Plus I have like less time, and so it's usually just a 45-minute program, and the whole thing is designed to do 2 sets to failure at like major muscle groups, and so that's what I'm doing. But you reminded me of a question that goes to because like I feel like some people they do it at a very young age to get like that big, right? And I think what we're talking about is like after 20s and kind of figure out like I think it's same it's poked fun at in social media because you have those archetypes, right? You have like the ones that I go to Japan, I run a marathon, I don't know what the other two are. It's like get engaged or strong. I don't know, run club or something like that. Those are run club and marathon are kind of the same things. But to that question is what has been kind of your do you have one? Yes or no? Why or why not? But like what has been your 20s? I always find it. I think it's because you get a. My theory is that after you get your 20s, there's no more goalposts. When you're in college, there's always something to do, right? There's a degree, there's a class, there's a trip, something that you have to look forward to. But once you're in the workforce, that kind of disappears because everything you're aiming for is work. It's not about you anymore. It's about what you can do for your company or what you can do for your business. But now you're just your life goals are just kind of empty, right? And some people turn to running, some people turn to weightlifting, some people turn to running a marathon or a triathlon. Just kind of wondering what was yours? Did you have one? Because I don't think you told me, or I also don't observe it because I follow you on social media, but I don't do it like
well, I also don't
deeply,
really
so I
post
don't
on
know.
social media that often,
Yeah,
if at
true.
all. So Good. It's a good question. My quick take on that is I think it's just because you have free time, you have the ability to actually pursue hobbies and really do things. So for me and for my money's worth, what I've really invested a lot of time in has been going to the gym, getting better at basketball, which I'm really passionate about, and then also like pursuing just other physical things that I'm interested in. So pickleball and volleyball, especially in the summer. My friends have been getting me in badminton in the winter, and then you've also been encouraging me to play badminton. So those kinds of things are really crucial. But then I also try and do other things too. So one of my friends out here is really into music and music production. So I learn a
Mm,
lot from him about what it means to be a producer in the studio. Spoiler alert, it is way harder and way more complex than people would have imagined. The fact that they produced records in the 20s and 30s is mind-boggling to me because they didn't have the technology that we have today. They didn't have all this other stuff. So I'm very interested in learning about those kinds of things. And then I also I have a real interest in history and politics and like the overlap between the two and like trying to
mm,
understand where philosophies and ideologies come from. Because for me, I'm just a very curious person. So I've been
mm,
doing a lot of historical investigation for some of those kinds of things. And I know we could avoid a lot of those topics here, especially while you and I are both still, trying to maintain healthy employment. But that is that is something that I've looked into. Some of it's like genuinely like very simple stuff, like how do the French do their political system? Like I am curious about it, and so I look into that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'd say that's probably the majority of where my time has gone. Some of it is directly based on my interest and also my comfort level. So the gym has always been like a comfortable place for me. I haven't
mm,
really felt out of I haven't felt in a strange area, and that was true at Vanderbilt. That's true here. Now that I'm in the workforce, the gym is a spot where I'm used. It's like a very comfortable place. Same thing with like when I'm at a friend's place. Like I know that person. It's very easy for me to be there. As much of an extrovert as I am, sometimes it is convenient to just be somewhere where you know what's happening and what's going to happen. Um, and then pickleball and badminton and volleyball are a little bit more of my like not reach, but my unknown areas
mm,
where I could meet totally new people, and I have through both. Um, my entire volleyball experience since I moved into the corporate workforce was somebody reached out to me. He said, "Hey, you can join this volleyball league with me and some of my friends." And I said, "Yeah, that sounds cool." And then I made a bunch of cool friends through it. So from my perspective, I think putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions is kind of fun. I'm curious how this is translated to you through med school, though, because you still have to make time to do the things that you want to do.
mm-hmm.
But I also know that time in med school is very compressed.
Yeah. Well, one, I wanted to piggyback off of that. I think we talked about it last week, but I will say, like thinking about it, like pickleball, that's where I met. Like I had an externship in another state. Didn't know anybody. Made like lifelong friends. Like fantastic. We still talk to this day. And then when I traveled abroad in Scotland, right, in undergrad, and I didn't even know. I should say I didn't know a lick of English, but like they speak they speak English there, but it's just, you don't understand like their Scottish accent. This is just an aside. Like, I was
It's
at the
so
border,
thick sometimes.
dude. I was at the border, and I just couldn't. The officer was saying something to me. I thought he was speaking another language, and it was just I think literally all he was saying was, "What are you doing here? Like, what are you here for?" And I stood there dumbfounded, and he must have just looked at me. He's like, "This guy is like the biggest dimwit I've ever met in my life." And I'm like, but then I was like, "Could you like just slow down just a little bit?" Because I hear the English words, but they're not registering just yet. But when I was in Scotland, like that's where I met like another like I think about it, like another sixth grade group of friends, and it all came from just racket sports. And there is a study that says like racket sports extend your life by 6 to like 9 years, like either it's badminton or tennis. And I think one large part of that is already the cardiovascular system is really good for that, and then two, the community, because you can't play tennis alone. I mean, you could, but you would quickly leave after like 20 minutes
It's kind of
because you just
tough.
be you be hitting, you can hit the like machine, or you can use the like the walls. Have you seen like the hitting walls? But
I remember the walls. Yeah.
yeah, I do too. Never want to go back, but
You
but I'll
didn't
say
like the
quick
wall? The wall was a good training tool, I feel like.
yeah, I'm still not that great at tennis, so I think that's probably the thing to do. Like that is something that I have on my list of things to to improve on in life. But in medical school, I think that's a really great question. I feel like you don't. Well, you don't. And one thing too, I was going to push back on that. I was like, you. That's definitely not true because like you said, you have more. You have quote unquote more free time. I had so much free. I mean, maybe because it's because I'm in medical school. I had so much more free time in undergrad. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like the amount of free time I had in undergrad. I look back and I'm like, please give me this free time again. Like I would just go to class, homework assignments, maybe do like a couple hours. I'm eating dinner with my friends. I'm eating lunch with my friends. I'm going to the rec, and then we get a smoothie at 2301, or we get something at Highland. Like that was peak life. Like I don't know what you're talking about. You have more time, but maybe I have something to look forward to the corporate world because I certainly have less time than I had in undergrad. That being said, I feel like that you don't get too much of it per se because everything kind of revolves. There's a lot of things around it too. It depends on what specialty you want to go into, because that kind of defines. I'm not saying you have to do like research or other things like that, but you get kind of passionate about it. Like I have found myself becoming very passionate about dermatological research the past 4 years I'm here. So that, and while that is a very big like passion of mine, it does take time. Like time is that it's that one resource that you can't get back, and is you only have one thing, right? So I don't think I had. I probably had like last week. I had like an identity crisis when it comes to the people around me. I can't say I had a what do I do with my time crisis. I had a can I have more time crisis. Like it would be really great to have a second of me to enjoy this and do that at the same time. So I think it's still continuing to build on my passions. I think it was really good to like continue playing badminton. Do photography on the side. Now this is something that's really new, right? And I had some more time now that like clinical scheduling is dying down. I'm like, oh, I can probably commit to a weekly schedule to do podcasting, and it's a thing that I've always wanted to do. But yeah, I can't say. I mean, you have all your steady state things, like the things that make you a person, like the gym, badminton, your creative thing, cooking, your relationships. And I think by the time, and then like you're studying, also like what you want to do. Um, I've done a lot of work with like mobile clinics. I've done a lot of work with like dermatoepidemiology. I'm making an application right now. I'll save the name so no one steals it. But it's like kind of doing to like figure out if like learners have bias, right? And like once I have those like 9 things, I think I just listed 9 things. I got nothing. I got nothing. So I'm just like, oh wow. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I love my life. So I have nothing against it. But like when you ask them, like, what is it like in med school? I'm like, maybe I added like one or two things per se. But I think medical school is pretty demanding that you don't have as much. And I don't want to say to the people, anyone listening, like, oh man, I'm not gonna add any new hobbies when I get to med school. I'm just saying you're a lot more intentional, and from that you either are more intentional on the new things that you want to do, or you're intentional on the things that you already have done. And I think I've more done the latter than the former.
I think that's a good call out, and I would agree with your challenge to my statement. I realized the reason I said that was because I was in engineering in undergrad, and so like your entire experience is just like, okay, well, I need to study for this exam, and then I also need to finish these like 6 homework assignments, and that's not everybody's experience in engineering, but it was mine. But you are correct. Now that you're in, and maybe this is just true for both of us, you do have to be more intentional and more focused with the for you time that you have because
Mm-hmm.
you're also going to be tired from work. You're probably going to be tired from studying. So you have to be willing to pursue something in a very focused manner instead of jumping around back and forth. And I know like not everybody wants to do that. Some people just want to like either chill out or just
Yeah.
relax. And sometimes like people are just like scattered and they just need like a moment of calm at home as well, which is totally fair. And I know people like that, and I know that, that just works for them. So
Yeah.
um I was curious though, because you brought up the point on the app side. Do you feel like you have the ability to make just like apps willy-nilly? Like you had to be very focused on that. What was the actual process of saying like, okay, wait a second, let's do this?
This is such a long, I'll start. It's such a long journey. It has promoted growth in me in ways that I've never thought possible. Like I'm sitting in a place like, have you used GitHub before?
Recently, actually, yeah.
Yeah, recent. And like when you work with engineers and you work with like if you're not coding yourself and you're coding with other people, they'll like send you PRs, something called pull requests, and like it's basically just looking over the work and making sure that it is up to your standard, and or like the code is like it's not any bugs, and it's like the changes that you want to make. And I'm just like, when did I get here? I like that was like, yeah, I'm like mentioning things that didn't happen in my week. I have so much to tell you, but that's like one of the biggest things. I was like, what? I was like, I am studying for medicine, and all of a sudden I find myself on GitHub reviewing this pull request, and I'm just thinking to myself like, how, right? And I think there's so many opportunities like that. It's like, I guess imposter syndrome, but imposter syndrome with like, I'm okay. Like, I know this is new, but I'm really looking forward to this, and I think that's maybe a different mindset. Like, I think that's another thing. Is you kind of want to be the dumber at times. You want to be the dumbest person in the room, because that's where you get so much growth and so much to learn from, because you don't feel out of place, but just by doing so, you're surrounding yourself in an environment that pushes you to grow, pushes you to be the person that you want to be. um, that said, kind of how I got to this, I had a little bit of computer science experience as well. My dad's a computer scientist, so he kind of taught me some, like, he does a really good job of when I was younger that I didn't realize. He like planted seeds for me. Like, where I'm half Vietnamese, half Chinese, and I think for some reason, like, it just, we kind of started speaking English at home rather than our mother tongue. But he still made it an effort that I would have all the tone, like the specific uh, intonations and pronunciations of Vietnamese phrases that are very not common to Vietnamese, like ng, nh, like, but it allows me to, if I ever wanted to, I could take my foundation and then learn Vietnamese, right? So he planted the seeds. He knew that some things, I mean, to a degree, I think there's some things you can always learn, but he knew there's some things that, if taught early, can, like, is much easier to learn than when you're an adult, right? And so the same thing kind of came with coding, and I feel like this is a bit different, where I think anyone could learn to. I mean, I don't, hot take, but like most of the time now, you don't really need to learn how to code or like take a class. You could learn it informally. That being said, I think he taught me a lot about, when I had these discussions with him. That's why I admire him a lot too. He was like talking to me about how you like build these classes. This, I think he was doing JavaScript at the time, like how you build these classes. Like, I think there's like the basics of like, are you sharing, is this a variable that you share with all classes? Is this a final variable? Is this something that stays within its class? How do you build the classes? Why do you build the classes? How, like, what are your organization for it? And I also got to pick his brain too while building this too. I'm like, what are you about this? And he's like, and he's just so high level. Like, I'm not even thinking about these things. He's like, well, how many users are you going to have? Like, what is your backend going to be? What's your security going to be? Like, does it need to run for 1,000 people at the same time? Does it need to read 100? Like, do these people want to save their scores? How are they going to save their scores? Like, all these questions you just, like, as a newbie, you don't think about. But I think this is where, like, things that you don't really think about, maybe, I'm not saying so much piano, but like math and organization, like these tiny things are building blocks to think about, like when you start building apps. So I would say, I don't think you could just you could do something willy-nilly, but it wouldn't be like the best work, right? But I think that was kind of the big dissonance. Like, I had a foundation and also a wonderful father that I can pick the brain of whenever I needed something that allowed me to build this app. But I think the biggest dissonance is building something that's just like vibe coding versus building something that is like sustainable, right? I think this is the gap that you have between why people keep on saying AI will take your jobs, but like you still need that engineer to kind of go from here to here to a certain degree. But yeah, I would say, to answer your original question, long story short, I had a foundation, but wouldn't say I could just build it, right? But with the tools now, you are more empowered than ever.
Yeah. Nice. Do you use AI to like do any coding or?
Oh, dude, absolutely, like, absolutely. I haven't. It's kind of like when I say this, and I can say it peacefully, because even the head of Anthropic, which is the company that made Claude, the whole Claude engineer said he hasn't written a line of code in the past 6 months or something. Like, you can find the video. He said he hasn't written a line of code, and so for me,
Yeah, fair
I haven't
enough.
written a line of code. I just kind of look at the code. I see the basis of it. If it's like really just from like organization, because we like have coded before, I'm like, this is redundant, or this is like unnecessary. I'm like, please clean this up. And or I like look at the final product, like the front end and the back end, and I'm like, I don't like this. I'm like, then I just like tell it to change. And then there's a whole other thing in the future, or it's current, I should say, where you can make bots to do the thing that I was just thinking. But um, and you can run loops on it. But anyways, I haven't written a line. I haven't written a line of code in. Let's see. I started making this app in like April. Uh, maybe April. I'll look at it. I don't think I've written a line of code, but I'll look at it. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't like this too
It is everywhere though, because my brother-in-law and I have conversations about it all the time. I'm encouraged to use it quite a bit at work, and he was just struggling how to use it, and so then he just told Claude Cowork, I think, like, give me a 15-minute lesson every single day so I can learn how to use you and Claude Code better, and then it did it, and apparently it was really good. I haven't gotten super far into those kinds of tools, but it sounds pretty impressive.
you can learn anything. I am just so impressed. I mean, it's just kind of to the degree. I mean, obviously we talked about that story last week where a person had a pulmonary, or is it you know I don't know. There's a man who had a pulmonary embolism, and so for what that is just basically a big clot in your heart, your pulmonary artery, which is kind of what sends your blood off. But basically, it can be a clot in there, and all of a sudden, blood can't go through. You have very severe shortness of breath, and you could die very quickly if untreated. Right? It's a very big medical emergency, and I think if he was talking to chat, I don't know the exact story off the top of my head, but it kind of not dismissed, but lowered the symptoms, like, oh, you're okay, and so it delayed his care. And at the same time, it's not to the degree of a. I don't want to do it. I don't want to give any. This is also not medical advice. This is just me kind of giving comparison. I'm not saying it's like a stroke. It is pretty timely, like a stroke, where you want to like kind of get rid of the clot as fast as possible, but in this case, he delayed his care for it. That being said, so there's like two nuances to the side of it, and this is where the literature is expanding in terms of how we use it. But at the same time, like what if we think about what do these doctors come up with? And obviously, we're going to have more skill. You're going to have the empathy. You're going to have like the processing of like because medicine is a very big gray area, and if you think about how AI is made, it's just algorithmic and agentic and generative. Like it can't capture that gray area yet. Maybe it will one day, but just not yet. Um, and because of that, you like have those cases where you get it's dismissing a pulmonary embolism. But on the flip side, like what do medical students do? Like my degree is understanding the physiology, and it's answering a test question of like what's the biggest diagnosis, what's the next step in management, and I think the percentile, I think the median score is like 80% on that exam, and every AI bot for the most part is going to get like 90-95%. So from a clear knowledge standpoint, these artificial intelligence are going to beat out any medical student. And in fact, I think there are many papers that it's going to beat out most like some practicing physicians. So that like then now you take your question, you're like, oh my gosh, like how can these bots replace, right? And I think I'm forgetting his name. It's the CEO of Anthropic, like who or the owner, and he says I think medicine is one of those yeah, it's one of those areas where it's that perfect mix of humanity and sciences because there's things in there. It's not just like yes, this could be a diagnosis, but you also have to ask the right questions. Like, what is the patient trying to do? There's this whole ethics too of like beneficence and autonomy, where you know the decision that you want to give might not work. Like, and there's also insurance out in the play. So there's like so many things that a physician does that captures it. But from a pure knowledge standpoint, like there's no way this thing's trained on every paper imaginable. So even if you have like this really rare disease and a really rare patient that pops up, this is your perfect opportunity to use artificial intelligence because I'm making something up, like they might have like P11.A, B, C, whatever, like chromosome mutation that is lead to this very rare presentation. But like you don't learn about that in medical school because you can't learn about the 1 out of 1 millionth chromosome mutation that leads to these things. But that's where AI can come into fun. I have no clue how we got into the subject. I think we kind of got into a little bit of like how AI is used in a sense. But I'm amazed. And there's like I feel there's like two forms. There's like way too far. There's like we should not be teaching this. And I'm like I don't know. And then there's some courses too. They're like AI is so terrible at scribing. They can't listen. Like they'll show a video and then they show the provider doing the exam and they're like, look at this AI scribe. It didn't pick up that the heart sounded like this. And I'm sitting here like, how do you expect an agentic AI to pick up what you listen to in your ear? That makes no sense. Like they're like you can't. And then they're
I remember you
subscribing
telling
like
me about
AI.
this.
Yeah, I was like AI is terrible. I'm like no, like that's a misuse of it. And then and I do understand there's a whole conversation, and it's how we use it about like the environmental impacts of it. But like I feel like way too far on the left. Like AI is the worst thing, right? I mean, there's certain things, right? Like it short circuits your learning. Used poorly can do outcomes. And then there's the like other group of AI is going to take over the world. It's going to replace our jobs. I'm like, there's still like a grayness in medicine that's still there, that's still needed, right? I think we can land happily in the middle of kind of, oh, this is where artificial intelligence lies. You can it, use correctly. We got to have safeguards around it, but we want to learn how to use it because it's a tool, right? I think that's the biggest thing. No tool is going to replace you to a certain degree. Like even if you walk into Target, there's still cashiers, even though there's self checkout, right? To a certain degree, because there's still tools in there. And I think I just saw a recent article about is in Sweden, where they Sweden or some country they opened up a checkout lane, like a slow checkout lane, that people can go talk to the cashier, right? Because that's the thing that you're not like some people like it is a social environment to go shopping and then trying to talk to the cashier how their day is going, right? Because sometimes, as you get older, sometimes your social circle shrinks. I think that's a opportunity. So they're all to say, not one extreme, not the other. You just kind of land in the middle. That's my
Yeah.
take.
No, I think that's valid. I'm curious what you want the ideal medical field AI use case to be in the future. Because in my head, what I've been sold on over the past couple of years is you will have the provider, you'll have the patient, and then there will be some AI. The provider and the AI communicate, the
Mm-hmm.
patient and the AI do not communicate. But then between the two of them, the people in the room collectively they come to a better solution, and it's just supported by AI saying, yeah, it probably is likely that you need to get these kinds of tests, or you might be on a like increased risk path for this, so these are the things that you can do, and then just spits it out immediately so the patient has access to that.
Yeah, I mean this is a ever evolving field. I think there's low hanging fruit for sure. I think we're we're already getting there in terms of like scribes and chart review. I think those are the two things. So because a lot of time, I'll give you context. If someone comes to the hospital and they're a new patient, or for example, it's kind of like how when you're off work, there would be someone that's off shift. So like you might be taking care of that patient, and then like obviously you get a little handoff, but you don't get the full picture, right? And it's complex. There's a lot of things. Like some people have very long past medical histories, things in their past that are really relevant, or the medicines that are important, allergies that are important, and it's all built in an EHR called Epic, which holds a lot of information, but kind of gathering that information can be tough, right? And you're also kind of reliant on whoever came before you to kind of write that note to synthesize the information, right? But it's hard because sometimes you can't synthesize everything. There's like you have if a 70-year-old comes in, that's 70 years of medical history from like when they're a child to a teenager to when they're adult, what screenings they had, what vaccines they had. It's really, I mean, they do a good job. Like, don't get me wrong, the EHR was a great tool, but now you have something that can loop through this, that can go through all this data and pull it out and make it in an extreme way. I think that like being in the simplifying your EHR or finding something like quickly, that that's one thing. Two is like scribing. Like I think a lot of times we use a lot of time just for documentation purposes, but being able to just talk to my patient eye to eye, say tell me what's going on, make them feel seen, make them feel heard, and at the same time like you don't have that extra cognitive RAM being taken up of like, oh, I need to document this later. I think that's like the two like low hanging fruit. But pushing into the future, I do agree with you to a certain extent. I think there's a lot of cool work being done um, at the university that I'm at, where they use a deterioration index, which basically is like they kind of predict like, are you going to code or are you going to do something, right? And they have because you have all this data, right? And then you have predictive modeling. It's almost like quantitative analysis, but for your patient, right? But instead of like, is my stock going up or down? You're like, is my patient going to code? Because like, I want to be prepared for that. I want to do preventative measures, or be on more alert or staff properly. So I think AI has this wonderful opportunity because health is both a humanitarian thing, but also a data-driven thing. It's that I think that's why I got drawn so into it. It's like this blend of humanity and science and data. That now you have a tool that is able to
Yeah.
take all this data and like capture it. You still have the humans involved, but like you said, you're like, oh, you might have a genetic screening that we want to do, right? And like the doctor doesn't know about it because it's so rare. Um, and so I think that's like the wonderful thing. It's this tool. It's like the internet, but now it's an internet that can run constantly and provide better feedback and provide better care. So I think there's a way of, like, it could be predicting deterioration or coding. It could be simplifying your EHR or making it easier to find. It could also be, hey, like, these are the top differentials, like, that you don't want to miss. Because sometimes, I mean, we're always trained to get rid of the high risk stuff. Like, make sure they're not gonna, like, have a heart attack. Make sure they don't have a PE, right? Making sure the bad stuff. We're always trained to get rid of the most high danger things, but sometimes it can be missed, like the smaller things. And where does that? And sometimes where can your safeguard happen? Artificial intelligence, and it doesn't have to be right. That's where your intuition has to come into play. As you as a provider, it's how, like, oh, like, this tool recommended this. Like, let me double check, right? And I think that's where being a trying to find the right word for it, but it's not a second provider, but being someone that can check your work, or open your eyes to other ideas. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah. Maybe it's giving you an extra dictionary of different terms you can use to kind of assess and treat the problem. Maybe that's even too much of a simplification, but
Yeah, I think like a second provider, like a expert, like an expert provider that is like knowledgeable, like a genius provider that just looks at all the data that's given there. It's like it's an unbiased opinion. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a, it's like,
oh yeah.
yeah, if you have like a conflict between two people, you're like, what does this person think? And all the artificial intelligence is going to do is like look through the data. I'm like, oh, yeah, you could be right about this, or you want to take a look at that. And I think that's like an unbiased third opinion, a second opinion, like right there. It takes away, like, and I think the big thing, kind of through healthcare and kind of experience it myself as well, I think through families, like, people feel like there's a lot of times where you're like being pushed around, like, you got to go see this specialist, you got to make a consultation, and it can be a lot, right? So it can be helpful. And I think we're moving into a space where, like, sometimes both providers are there, like your hemonc and your dermatologist, like, boom, right there, so the decision can all be made and simplifies the life for the patient. But sometimes it could be, oh, do I want to do this, and then just having a third, like a second expert opinion. Obviously, I still feel like you don't want to rely on that, but it's nice to have. I think that's where it should be going.
This is a complete non sequitur, but have you seen any of the Naked Gun movies? So there's a
Wait,
scene you might have.
is that with the who's the guy who plays Batman's mentor and
Oh,
Batman Begins? Oh, I
so
forget
that
his
was the
name.
newest one. The newest
Oh,
one
that's
with
it.
Liam Neeson.
Yes, Liam
Yeah.
Neeson.
No, but before then, I forget the name of the actor, but it was done in that very dry style of 80s humor. And it was
Yeah.
just very, very unique. But there's a scene where the detective, so detective, he has no medical training to my knowledge. He runs up to a man he sees like collapse on the side of the street, or maybe there was like more build up to it beyond that, and he just like starts going through it. He grabs a little girl off the side. And he's like, "Little girl, I need you to go and call 911. I need you to tell them that
Oh,
this man has a yeah, 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 like the subdermal hematoma." And she's like, "Oof, sounds like myocarditis or something along those lines." And he's like, "No, you're completely wrong. It would only be based on these three things. That means you need to go back to medical school. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, little girl." Like, that's what I'm envisioning this AI is basically becoming, is the AI is a little girl. And then you have to be the harsh detective saying, like, not even remotely close. Go back to medical school.
dude, I love that clip. It's so funny. He's like, this. Go
Do
back
they
to
show that in medical school? I really hope they do.
No, they don't. Unfortunately, they do
Ah,
not. I wish they did.
missed
It'd be a funny
opportunity.
clip.
Missed
My
opportunity.
my favorite clip of all time in medical school. We have something. I'll share. It doesn't hit the same because you're not in it, but we have this thing called Oskies, which basically is you have this paid actor or paid not actor, like it's a pseudo patient, like an actor that as a patient, and then you go
Yeah.
in there and you do all your things, like you need to wash your hands, you need to make sure you do all the clinical stuff and ask the right questions, and like do the right maneuvers. But it's so because like when you're in a first year, you're like so nervous about it, and it's like some people succeed very well, and some people are like so scared and rigid. It's just like so awkward, and it could be as simple as a person's like, "Oh, I'm just here for a cough," and they're like, "Are you sure? You might have Down syndrome." Because that is the only differential I know in my head right now. You're like, my
Wow.
elbow hurts. And they're like, you might have Down syndrome. And I'm like, it's because like you're just like this when you're in
That's
your first year. So
yeah.
like when you come up with your differential, you're like, oh, I don't even know, right? And I think that the same thing happened to me as like all I knew was like I don't even know what the patient had, but it was I think it was as simple as like rosacea. But all I knew at the time was like lupus, and like, well, the ANA was slightly positive. This was like when I was super. This is just shadowing, and I was like, oh, it might be lupus. My attending just looks at me graciously. He's like, good thought, but no.
Good
And I'm
thought.
like,
No chance.
yeah, yeah. But I think everyone gets used to it. Everyone is like kind of go to those phases because your knowledge is so small in that regard.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
dude,
That's so funny though. Do they provide like little awards to the patient actors after the fact and say like, "Hey, you did a great job actually."
they do sometimes when you're not on your exam. They're like they have like a debriefing afterwards. But when you have your OSCE exam, they don't do anything. But when you're like doing your training, that's when they're like, oh yeah, you made me feel like really seen, and it's always good. Um, there was one time where let's say the person wasn't the most prepared and the feedback wasn't the greatest, and it's really awkward
Oh, the actor
because
wasn't prepared.
no, the student really wasn't prepared
Oh.
to
Have
ask
you
the
done
questions like,
like the have you been the patient like in this the theoretical
but you
no.
never you usually never you do it, that's like more casual, but usually for the training purposes they'll like hire people. And yeah, and I just remember one time it was just like not the best, and I had like the most secondhand embarrassment, and I just wanted to leave that room. I was like, oh my goodness. But I feel
Yikes.
like everyone is there at a certain time. Everyone comes at a different point of their training, different experiences that inform how they do their things, and I think that's the big thing. You just hope that they learn. Hope that they learn.
That's interesting. We have similar experiences in the corporate world because we've definitely done like mock customer calls before to just kind of like prep people. And it is the first couple times you're on those customer calls, it is weird because it's like you're saying, your scope of
Mm-hmm.
knowledge is so small and you don't want to screw anything up. So
Mm-hmm.
you're just kind of looking at like your mentors and your trainers and just like, hey, like, am I allowed to say these things? Like, do I need to go back to the internal directory to see if maybe we gotta pull in somebody from development or how do we want to handle this? So it is it is a little bit weird the first couple times, but if you can kind of just like fluff it in terms of your knowledge, but then
Mm-hmm.
prioritize actually understanding what the question is and understanding what they really want, that makes it a lot easier because then you can go back after the fact and say like, okay, I have these 5 follow-ups. I'll get back to you within the week and then just axe it. And by and large, that's usually okay. As long as my experience is as long as like the recipient customer has a timeline of when all the answers are going to come to them, they're going to be fine and they're not going to care.
Yeah. Yeah. Communication or communication, communication. That was like one of my life lessons my dad gave me, and it's just like this is the I think You're coming over for my birthday. You'll meet him. But it's like this man wise. Like just like he'll like pop up some small knowledge that I never think about. Or you like when you're a kid and you're always angry. I'm like that's not right. But then like the more time goes through, you're like this dude. Well, one, your parents, hopefully for the most part, your parents are always looking out for you. Like that's like the big thing. They're not there to screw you over or do anything poorly for the most part. Like really good parents are there to love and cherish you and make sure you're the best person. But like sometimes the thing doesn't sometimes it just doesn't hit right away, and it takes like 5 to 10 years later. I'm like, wow, this guy was onto something. He was onto something.
This guy was wise.
This
This
guy
guy had knowledge.
this guy had ball knowledge, dude. It's crazy. And my parents like came from this is the thing, like now we're just like delving into different things, but like my parents came from the Vietnam War as refugees. They kind of like I mean a lot of stories that like that way. They like escape. They were at a refugee camp and they come here. My dad was like 7, didn't know a lick of English. Literally just came with a short and shirts, and he is here. He is here as the man he is today, and I'm here. I'm like, wow. I went through elementary school with like tons of love backpack, clothes on my back. Like it's different time. And then I went to Singapore to visit one of our coworker friends, right? And they have a museum of what life was like back then. It just blows my mind. I'm just like,
In
wow,
Singapore, they have that.
yeah,
Whoa. What was
it's
the difference? Because I think of Singapore now as like the super advanced technology focused country. What was it back
dude,
then?
like it was it was like obviously I think it just kind of went through because of the government and how they did everything for the technological revolution. But people were like my room right now. This would be considered like a house in Singapore, like a place to live in Singapore, and this would like be a place for four people. Like my bed would be a kitchen, and then there would just be like just some cot. Dude, it's an amazing experience to see, and I think as you as a history nut, dude, I'm telling you, um, there's two places that really opened my eyes to the things that happened in the past. Like one that was definitely the Singapore. It's in Chinatown. I think it's like the history of Chinatown or something like that. Just you go there, we'll make plans, and it's just like wow. And you would see like this is, and then there's like different ones. Like this is what a layman person would live in, and it's literally like a box. It's like literally half the size of my room, and that would be a family of four. And then this like my whole room would be like a doctor, and then that's where they would stand, right? And it's just so amazing just to see like how because they do it like one to one, like how these rooms used to look like, and it's like a really cool experience. And the second thing I think it's called the War Remnant Museum. That's what um, opened my eyes a bit too. Of it's like kind of maybe it's kind of like if you go to the South and you see like what do they think about the Civil War, but it's how uh, the Vietnamese government, which obviously the North won the war, how they see how the war was from the U.S. side, and yeah, it's pretty shocking to see. Like
So it's like their interpretation of what the Americans thought during the war.
it's their interpretation of like how they fought, like how the war was from them, like um,
Oh, okay, from their perspective.
what
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
from
would have
their
thought.
perspective. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
there's like places where they showed like the prisons where they kept people, the things that like Agent Orange does, and then like there's like these huge bombs. Like I think you don't see it until you get there. Like holy, like this is you drop this on a civil like hopefully just war zones, but sometimes in the past like you drop that in a civilian area and you're just like wow. It's just
Yeah.
it's very scary to see. It like opens my eyes. I'm like, wow, like that's you would enjoy it, but I think it opens your perspective on terms of what happened in the past and like how fortunate and how lucky we are to live in the day and age that we are today.
Oh, for sure. No, it Vietnam's definitely on my bucket list of places I want to visit just because of so much of the history. And also like apparently like the culture now there is super cool and super thriving. Like it apparently it's incredible. So I really do want to go. But yeah, if you want to get into that part of it, the good beginner's entry to war crimes that nobody talks about is is the firebombing of Dresden. But then obviously Vietnam is just ripe with so many of like napalm and then all of the different bombing campaigns, some of the executions in public, like all of those are just insane if you really start looking into it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of really unique stories, but I am interested to hear from their perspective
Yeah.
what everything was like because I understand like the European side of the history beyond it because it was the French before it was the US. And sorry to
Mm.
mansplain so much of this, but it is very unique. It's very interesting. So yeah, yeah, more things to learn. More things to learn. But
Yeah.
cool, man. Well, hey, closing us out in the near future. What do you got going on next week?
Going on next week, dude. I'm officiating my brother's wedding on Saturday.
Ooh.
Never thought that. I mean, I knew this day would come. Never thought I'd be involved as much as I am today.
So
Never
you're
thought
not even
I'd
the
be
best
a.
man. You're officiating everything.
I'm both. I am the best man and the officiant.
Wow.
It's an exciting time, kind of interesting time. Like they gave me, I was like, I wrote a script for them, and I was like, hey, this is like my officiant script. Took the whole thing, scrapped it. And they're like, this is what you want to say, and I was like, but what happened? It was like my jokes. I was like, you know me, I love to do like the little poke, and but like also I know this is a wedding, so like I will speak from the heart, tell them about all their love and about how they are as a couple and all that. And I'm just looking at this, I'm like, Everything is gone that I wrote. What is it's just like it was a neutered down version. I was like, I'm so sad.
Yeah.
But in that case, yeah, I just got the script. I think I got like the official script like yesterday, and the wedding's literally next Saturday. So I'll be flying off of that. Hopefully, we can keep the 10 a.m. time. We'll see. We'll see how
No
the
sweat if
the
not.
wedding
No sweat if not.
wedding yeah wedding festivities go. But yeah, that should be pretty exciting. It's once in a hopefully not once in a lifetime event. That to be there for your sibling. He was my first ever roommate because we shared a room together. This was actually our bedroom growing up. Now it has one bedroom instead of one bed instead of two.
Oh,
But yeah, studying at the same time and wedding officiant. Those are kind of the two big things for my week. How about you?
do you have the best man speech already written out? That's the scary
I
one.
wish I
Call
I
me
wish
call me if you want to get an extra set of eyes on it.
okay. I mean, I probably should. I wrote it like a long time ago in like December, and then I have like this friend that's pretty much a brother to the both of us, and I was like, "Hey, do you just want to split this?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's split this up." So, I mean, I guess I could make it more fun with some more jokes. It was a little bit more sentimental than like jokes aside. But I was already so stressed about the officiating speech, and I was like, I want to do a good job there because this is what's gonna matter more. And then lo and behold, I don't get too much creative liberties in that, so I'm like, should have spent more time on my best man speech, but that's
That's
okay.
funny.
Yeah, I do have it coming up, but I was like, I could even wing it. I don't even know how people listen to it, but I'll try to do a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Jeez. I'll answer the question you started. Nothing too crazy. Like I said, I got a lot of little work responsibilities this week, but then I'll probably go and see some friends next weekend and then hang out. But yeah, we can be flexible on the timing for this episode.
Okay,
Cool.
sweet.
Cool.
All
Well,
right,
sir,
well, you want
it's
to
been
sign
a
us off?
pleasure. Yes,
Yeah,
sir. Oof. Thanks everyone for hopping in, and well, I'll catch you next week.
take care, everybody.